Hi guys, welcome to a journey that will take us back thousands of years to explore some of the most fascinating and enduring mysteries of human civilization. Tonight, we're going to dive deep into the forgotten corners of history, where ancient peoples left behind puzzles that continue to baffle archaeologists, historians, and scientists to this day. From massive stone structures that seem impossible to build with ancient technology, to entire civilizations that vanished without a trace, we'll explore the enigmas that make us question everything we think we know about our ancestors. We'll visit the wind-swept plains of Peru, where giant lines stretch across the desert floor, visible only from the sky. We'll journey to remote islands in the Pacific, where hundreds of massive stone heads stare silently toward the horizon. We'll explore underwater ruins that might rewrite the history of human civilization, and we'll delve into libraries of stone tablets that contain languages no one can read. These aren't just stories about the past. They're windows into the incredible ingenuity, mystery, and perhaps even advanced knowledge of people who lived millennia ago. Tonight's exploration will take us across continents and through time, examining evidence that challenges our understanding of ancient capabilities, investigating theories that range from the plausible to the extraordinary, and considering what these mysteries might tell us about human potential and our shared heritage. Some of these puzzles have partial explanations, while others remain as mysterious today as they were when first discovered. All of them remind us that history is far more complex and fascinating than we often imagine. Okay, friends, before you settle in, if you enjoy this kind of deep dive content, then click the like button and don't forget to subscribe. And yes, leave a comment letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. I really enjoy seeing where everyone is listening from. Now, dim the lights and turn on the fan, and let's dive into tonight's journey together. Our first stop takes us to the high desert of southern Peru, where one of the world's most perplexing archaeological mysteries stretches across nearly 200 square miles of arid landscape. The Nazca Lines, created between 500 BCE and 500 CE by the Nazca civilization, consist of over 800 straight lines, 300 geometric figures, and 70 animal and plant designs etched into the desert floor. What makes these geoglyphs so extraordinary isn't just their size. Some lines stretch for miles, but the fact that their true forms can only be appreciated from hundreds of feet in the air. The creation of the Nazca Lines represents an enormous undertaking that would have required precise planning, mathematical knowledge, and coordinated effort across generations. The lines were created by removing the dark iron oxide-coated pebbles that cover the desert surface, revealing the lighter-colored earth beneath. This process, while conceptually simple, required removing millions of stones across vast distances with remarkable precision. The dry climate of the Nazca Desert has preserved these lines for over 1,000 years, creating a massive outdoor gallery that continues to puzzle researchers. The most famous of the Nazca geoglyphs include a spider that measures about 100 feet long, a monkey with a curled tail spanning about 300 feet, and a hummingbird stretching nearly 200 feet from beak to tail. There's also a whale, a llama, various human figures, and countless geometric patterns, including triangles, trapezoids, and spirals. The precision of these designs is remarkable. The straight lines deviate by only a few feet over distances of several miles, suggesting the use of sophisticated planning and measurement techniques. The mystery deepens when we consider that the Nazca people had no known means of flight, yet the designs seem clearly intended to be viewed from above. Early researchers like Maria Reich, who dedicated her life to studying and preserving the lines, proposed that the Nazca people might have developed primitive hot air balloons using materials available to them. She experimented with creating balloons using cotton fabric and smoke from fires, demonstrating that such flight might have been theoretically possible. However, no direct evidence of balloon technology has been found in Nazca archaeological sites. Another theory suggests that the lines served astronomical purposes, functioning as a massive calendar or observatory. Some researchers have noted that certain lines align with the positions of celestial bodies at specific times of year, particularly during solstices and equinoxes. The spider figure, for example, may represent the constellation Orion, while other figures might correspond to different stars or planetary movements. However, critics point out that with so many lines covering such a vast area, some astronomical alignments would be expected by pure chance. The water theory presents another compelling explanation. The Nazca region is extremely arid, and water management was crucial for survival. Some researchers suggest that the lines might have served as part of a complex system for locating and accessing underground water sources. The straight lines might have pointed toward aquifers or seasonal streams, while the larger figures could have served as gathering places for ceremonies related to water and fertility. This theory gains support from the fact that many of the animal figures represent creatures associated with water in Andean cultures: the whale from the ocean, the hummingbird as a rainbringer, and the spider associated with water prediction. Moving from the mysteries of Peru to the remote reaches of the Pacific Ocean, we encounter another archaeological enigma that has captured imaginations for centuries. Easter Island, known to its inhabitants as Rapa Nui, sits in isolation more than 2,000 miles from the nearest populated land. This small, triangular island, measuring only 14 miles at its longest point, is home to nearly 900 massive stone statues called moai that have stood sentinel over the landscape for hundreds of years. The moai were carved by the Rapa Nui people between approximately 1250 and 1500 CE, during what archaeologists call the island's classical period. These statues, carved from volcanic tuff found primarily at the Rano Raraku quarry, range in height from about 6 feet to over 30 feet, with the average statue standing around 13 feet tall and weighing approximately 14 tons. The largest moai ever erected stands 33 feet high and weighs an estimated 80 tons, representing an incredible feat of ancient engineering. What makes the moai particularly mysterious is not just their size and number, but their distribution across the island and the methods used to move them from the quarry to their final locations. Most of the completed statues were transported several miles from where they were carved to ceremonial platforms called ahu around the island's perimeter. The logistics of moving multi-ton stone statues across rough terrain, using only the technology available to a Polynesian society of the 15th century, presents a fascinating puzzle. For decades, researchers proposed various theories about how the moai were transported. Early ideas included rolling them on logs, sliding them on wooden runners, or using complex rope and lever systems. However, recent experimental archaeology has revealed a surprising possibility. The statues might have been walked to their destinations. In 2012, researchers successfully demonstrated that a moai replica could be moved upright using a coordinated rocking motion controlled by 3 teams of people with ropes. This walking technique would explain why many of the statues along the ancient roads appear to be standing upright rather than lying on their sides, as would be expected if they had fallen from transport devices. The purpose and meaning of the moai remain subjects of ongoing research and debate. Most archaeologists believe the statues represented deceased ancestors who continued to watch over and protect their descendants. The statues were typically placed on ceremonial platforms with their backs to the ocean, gazing inland over the villages and agricultural areas. This positioning suggests they were meant to watch over the living rather than scan the horizon for threats or visitors from the sea. The construction of the moai required not only enormous physical effort, but also sophisticated social organization. Carving a single statue would have required a team of skilled craftsmen working for several months to over a year. The island's population at its peak was probably only about 10,000 to 15,000 people, making the dedication of resources to statue construction all the more remarkable. This suggests that statue building was not merely an artistic endeavor, but a central organizing principle of Rapa Nui society. The mystery deepens when we consider what happened to the civilization that created these magnificent monuments. By the time European explorers first arrived in 1722, the island's population had declined dramatically. Most of the statues had been toppled, and much of the knowledge about their construction and meaning had been lost. Environmental degradation, deforestation, social conflict, and later slave raids and disease introduced by European contact all contributed to the collapse of the classical Rapa Nui civilization. Our journey through ancient mysteries now takes us beneath the waves to explore one of archaeology's most controversial discoveries. Off the coast of Japan, near the island of Yonaguni, lies a massive underwater structure that has sparked decades of debate about its origins and implications for our understanding of prehistoric civilizations. The Yonaguni Monument, first documented by dive tour operator Kihachiro Aratake in 1986, consists of enormous stone formations that some researchers believe show clear evidence of human modification and construction. The structure extends over 500 feet in length and rises nearly 80 feet from the ocean floor. Its most striking features include what appear to be perfectly straight edges, right angles, and stepped pyramid-like formations that seem too precise to be entirely natural. Proponents of the artificial origin theory point to features that resemble roads, stairs, ceremonial platforms, and even carved figures that they argue could only have been created by human hands. The controversy surrounding Yonaguni centers on whether these formations are natural geological features, artificially modified natural formations, or entirely human-made structures. Mainstream geologists generally argue that the monument's features can be explained by natural processes, particularly the tendency of sandstone to fracture along straight lines when subjected to seismic activity. Japan sits along one of the world's most seismically active regions, and the regular pattern of earthquakes over thousands of years could theoretically create the sharp edges and geometric shapes observed at the site. However, marine archaeologist Dr. Masaki Kimura, who has spent decades studying the site, maintains that human involvement is evident in many of the monument's features. He points to what he interprets as tool marks on the stone surfaces, areas where natural rock formations appear to have been deliberately shaped or enhanced, and the overall layout of the structure, which he believes shows evidence of planning and design. Kimura has identified what he considers to be stairs, walls, columns, and even carved animal figures within the formation. The implications of the human origin theory for the Yonaguni monument are staggering when we consider the timeline involved. Based on sea level data and geological evidence, the area where the monument sits was last above water approximately 12,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. If the structure is indeed artificial, it would predate all known major architectural achievements by several millennia, potentially representing evidence of an advanced prehistoric civilization that existed before the development of agriculture and the world's earliest known cities. The dating question adds another layer of complexity to the Yonaguni mystery. Supporters of the artificial origin theory suggest that the monument might have been built when sea levels were much lower, during or shortly after the last glacial maximum. As the ice caps melted and sea levels rose, the structure would have been gradually submerged, preserving it in an underwater time capsule. This scenario would place its construction during a period when conventional archaeology tells us that human societies were still primarily hunter-gatherer bands with limited technological capabilities. Alternative theories about Yonaguni's origins range from the plausible to the speculative. Some researchers suggest that the monument might represent a natural formation that was later modified and used by ancient peoples for ceremonial or practical purposes. Others propose that it could be connected to the lost continent of Mu, a hypothetical landmass that some believe once existed in the Pacific Ocean. While these more exotic theories lack scientific support, they reflect the profound questions that the Yonaguni monument raises about our understanding of human prehistory and the possibility of lost civilizations. From the depths of the Pacific, our exploration of ancient mysteries takes us to the highlands of South America, where another architectural enigma has puzzled researchers for centuries. High in the Andes Mountains of Peru, about 50 miles northwest of the city of Cusco, lies the ancient site of Sacsayhuaman. This massive stone complex, built primarily during the reign of the Inca Emperor Pachacuti in the 15th century, represents one of the most impressive examples of precision stone cutting and fitting in the ancient world. What makes Sacsayhuaman so remarkable is not just its size. The complex covers over 3,000 acres. But the incredible precision with which its massive stone blocks were cut and fitted together. The largest stones in the complex weigh over 300 tons, Yet they are fitted together so precisely that it's impossible to slip a knife blade between them. This level of precision was achieved without mortar, metal tools, or any of the machinery that we would consider essential for such construction today. The stones at Sacsayhuaman display a variety of shapes, from relatively simple rectangular blocks to complex polygonal shapes with dozens of angles and faces. Each stone was apparently custom cut to fit exactly with its neighbors, creating walls that have withstood centuries of earthquakes in one of the world's most seismically active regions. The precision of this stonework becomes even more impressive when we consider that the Inca civilization, according to conventional history, had no written language, no wheel, no iron tools, and no knowledge of pulleys or other mechanical devices that might assist in heavy construction. The construction techniques used at Sacsayhuaman remain largely mysterious. The Inca themselves left no written records of their building methods, and by the time Spanish chroniclers arrived to document Inca practices, much of the technical knowledge had already been lost. Spanish accounts describe the Inca using bronze tools, wooden levers, earthen ramps, and enormous numbers of workers to move and place the massive stones. But these descriptions don't adequately explain how such precision was achieved or how blocks weighing hundreds of tons were lifted and maneuvered into exact position. Various theories have been proposed to explain the construction methods at Sacsayhuaman. Some researchers suggest that the Inca developed sophisticated techniques for cutting and shaping stone that we haven't yet understood or replicated. These might have included methods for precisely measuring and marking stone blocks, techniques for creating complex three-dimensional templates, or ways of softening stone to make it easier to work and fit together. Other theories propose that the Inca had access to lost technologies or knowledge that allowed them to accomplish these seemingly impossible feats of construction. The purpose of Sacsayhuaman also remains somewhat mysterious. Spanish chroniclers described it as a fortress, and its position overlooking Cusco and its massive defensive-looking walls support this interpretation. However, the complex also contains features that suggest ceremonial or religious purposes, including carved throne-like seats, channels that might have been used for liquid offerings, and alignments with astronomical events. Some researchers believe that Sacsayhuaman served multiple functions, combining military, religious, and administrative purposes in a single massive complex. The mystery of Sacsayhuaman extends beyond its construction to its symbolic significance within Inca cosmology. The complex was apparently designed to represent the head of a puma, an animal sacred to the Inca, while the city of Cusco below represented the body. This sophisticated urban planning, combined with the precision of the stonework, suggests a level of technical and conceptual sophistication that challenges our understanding of what was possible with 15th century technology and organizational methods. Our journey through ancient mysteries now takes us to one of archaeology's most frustrating puzzles, the undeciphered scripts and languages of long-lost civilizations. Throughout the world, archaeologists have discovered thousands of inscriptions, tablets, and documents written in scripts that no one can read, representing lost voices from the past that remain tantalizingly silent despite decades or even centuries of study. Perhaps the most famous of these undeciphered scripts is Linear A, used by the Minoan civilization that flourished on the island of Crete from approximately 2700 to 1100 BCE. The Minoans created one of Europe's first advanced civilizations, building elaborate palaces, developing sophisticated art and technology, and establishing extensive trade networks throughout the Mediterranean. They left behind thousands of inscriptions in their script, found on clay tablets, stone vessels, and various artifacts throughout Crete and other Aegean islands. Linear A remains completely undeciphered, despite more than a century of intensive study by some of the world's most brilliant linguists and cryptographers. The script consists of about 90 different signs, some representing syllables and others apparently representing entire words or concepts. While we can recognize patterns in the script and identify recurring sequences that might represent names, places, or common terms, we cannot read a single word with confidence. This is particularly frustrating because we know that a related script, Linear B, was successfully deciphered in the 1950s and found to represent an early form of Greek used by the Mycenaean civilization. The challenge of deciphering Linear A is complicated by several factors. First, we don't know what language it represents. While the Minoans clearly had extensive contact with other Mediterranean peoples, their original language appears to be unrelated to any known language family. Second, most Linear A inscriptions are quite short, often just a few words or symbols, making it difficult to identify patterns or apply statistical analysis techniques that have been successful with other ancient scripts. Finally, the contexts in which Linear A appears, primarily on administrative tablets and religious objects, limit the types of content we might expect to find, making it harder to use contextual clues to deduce meaning. Another fascinating undeciphered script comes from the Indus Valley civilization, which flourished in what is now Pakistan and northwestern India from approximately 3300 to 1300 BCE. The Indus Valley people created one of the world's earliest urban civilizations, building well-planned cities with sophisticated drainage systems, standardized weights and measures, and evidence of extensive trade networks. They left behind over 4,000 inscribed objects, including seals, tablets, and pottery, marked with symbols from their undeciphered script. The Indus script presents unique challenges for decipherment. The inscriptions are extremely brief, with most containing only 4 or 5 symbols, and the longest known inscription containing only 26 symbols. This brevity makes statistical analysis difficult and provides little context for understanding the meaning of individual symbols. Additionally, we have no bilingual inscriptions that might provide a key to translation, and the Indus civilization appears to have vanished without leaving any clear descendants or connections to later cultures that might preserve their language. Researchers have proposed numerous theories about what the Indus script might represent. Some believe it records an early Dravidian language related to languages still spoken in southern India. Others suggest it might represent a form of Proto-Sanskrit or an entirely unknown language family. Some researchers have even questioned whether the Indus symbols constitute a true writing system at all, proposing instead that they might be religious or decorative symbols without linguistic content. However, the systematic nature of the symbols and their appearance in clearly structured sequences suggest that they do represent some form of meaningful communication. The mystery of undeciphered scripts extends far beyond these famous examples. Easter Island's Rongo Rongo script, consisting of carved symbols on wooden boards, remains largely unreadable despite numerous attempts at decipherment. The script appears to have been used for ceremonial purposes and might contain religious texts, genealogies, or historical records, but its meaning remains locked away. Similarly, the Phaistos disc, a clay disc discovered in Crete and covered with stamped symbols arranged in a spiral pattern, has resisted all attempts at translation and interpretation. These undeciphered scripts represent more than just academic puzzles. They are lost voices from the past, containing information about ancient beliefs, practices, histories, and knowledge that could dramatically expand our understanding of human civilization. Each script potentially contains unique insights into how ancient peoples understood their world, organized their societies, and expressed their deepest thoughts and beliefs. The frustration of having these messages literally in our hands, but being unable to read them, is one of archaeology's most poignant reminders of how much we still don't know about our past. Moving from the realm of lost languages to architectural mysteries, our next stop takes us to England's Salisbury Plain, where one of the world's most famous ancient monuments continues to puzzle researchers and capture public imagination. Stonehenge, built in several phases between approximately 3100 and 1600 BCE, represents one of humanity's earliest and most ambitious architectural achievements. Yet its purpose and the methods used in its construction remain subjects of ongoing debate and research. The final form of Stonehenge that we see today consists of several distinct elements arranged in a complex pattern. The most recognizable features are the massive trilithons, pairs of vertical stones topped by horizontal lintels, arranged in a horseshoe pattern around the monument's center. These are surrounded by a circle of smaller stones, which in turn is encompassed by a circular earthwork embankment and ditch. The entire complex is aligned with astronomical events, most notably the summer and winter solstices, when the sun rises and sets in precise alignment with specific stones. What makes Stonehenge particularly mysterious is the enormous effort required for its construction and the sophisticated knowledge it demonstrates. The largest stones, called sarsens, weigh up to 50 tons each and were apparently transported from quarries about 20 miles away. The smaller blue stones, weighing 2 to 4 tons each, were brought from quarries in Wales over 150 miles away. Moving these massive stones across the prehistoric British landscape would have required enormous organized effort, sophisticated planning, and probably technological innovations that we can only guess at today. The precision of Stonehenge's astronomical alignments suggests that its builders possessed detailed knowledge of celestial movements and the ability to predict astronomical events with remarkable accuracy. The monument's primary axis aligns with the sunrise on the summer solstice and sunset on the winter solstice. But additional alignments have been identified with lunar cycles, other solar events, and possibly even the movements of specific stars or planets. This astronomical sophistication required careful observation over many years or generations, and the ability to translate these observations into precise architectural plans. Recent archaeological discoveries have revealed that Stonehenge was part of a much larger complex of monuments and structures spread across the surrounding landscape. Ground-penetrating radar and other non-invasive techniques have identified numerous additional stone circles, earthworks, burial mounds, and other features that suggest the area was a sacred landscape of enormous importance for thousands of years. This expanded understanding of Stonehenge's context has led researchers to view it not as an isolated monument, but as the centerpiece of a vast prehistoric ceremonial landscape. The purpose of Stonehenge remains one of archaeology's great mysteries. Early theories suggested it might have been a temple dedicated to sun worship, given its solar alignments. Other researchers have proposed that it served as an ancient observatory or calendar, allowing prehistoric astronomers to track celestial events and predict seasonal changes crucial for agriculture. More recent theories suggest that Stonehenge might have been primarily a place of healing, a prehistoric hospital where people came from great distances to seek cures for ailments and injuries. The healing theory is supported by several pieces of evidence, including the high proportion of human remains found at the site that show signs of injury or disease, and the presence of blue stones from Wales that were believed in medieval times to have healing properties. Chemical analysis of remains found at Stonehenge has revealed that many individuals buried there came from far away, suggesting that the site drew people from across Britain and possibly from continental Europe. Another compelling theory about Stonehenge's purpose focuses on its role as a place of ancestor worship and connection between the living and the dead. The monument's long history of use for burials, combined with its astronomical alignments that might have symbolized the journey of souls after death, suggests that it served as a kind of gateway between the physical and spiritual worlds. This interpretation is supported by similar monuments found throughout Europe that combine astronomical alignments with burial practices. From the wind-swept plains of England, our exploration takes us to the dense jungles of Central America, where another civilization created one of history's most sophisticated writing systems and then mysteriously abandoned their cities, leaving behind ruins that continue to reveal new secrets. The Maya civilization flourished for over 2,000 years, from approximately 2000 BCE to 1500 CE, across what is now Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. At their peak, the Maya built magnificent cities, developed complex mathematical and astronomical systems, and created the most advanced writing system in the pre-Columbian Americas. What makes Maya civilization particularly intriguing is the apparent suddenness with which many of their greatest cities were abandoned during what archaeologists call the classic Maya collapse, which occurred roughly between 800 and 900 CE. Cities that had been thriving centers of population, trade, and learning for centuries were gradually, or sometimes rapidly, abandoned, with their inhabitants disappearing into the jungle or migrating to other areas. The magnificent pyramids, palaces, and temples were left to be reclaimed by the tropical forest, creating some of the most dramatic archaeological sites in the world. The scale of Maya achievements makes their collapse all the more mysterious. Maya mathematicians developed the concept of zero independently of other civilizations and created sophisticated calendrical systems that could predict eclipses and track planetary movements with remarkable accuracy. Their long count calendar, which measures time from a creation date in 3114 BCE, demonstrates mathematical sophistication that rivals any ancient civilization. Maya astronomers were able to calculate the length of the solar year to within minutes of modern measurements and could predict eclipses centuries in advance. Maya writing, consisting of over 800 individual glyphs that could represent sounds, syllables, or entire concepts, recorded detailed historical information about rulers, wars, ceremonies, and astronomical events. The decipherment of Maya hieroglyphs, which began in earnest in the 1960s and continues today, has revealed a complex political landscape of competing city-states ruled by divine kings who claimed descent from the gods. These rulers waged wars, formed alliances, celebrated victories, and commissioned magnificent art and architecture to glorify their reigns. The mystery of the Maya collapse has generated numerous theories, ranging from environmental catastrophe to social revolution. Climate data suggests that the Maya heartland experienced severe droughts during the 9th century CE, which could have disrupted agriculture and led to food shortages. Some researchers believe that the Maya may have overexploited their environment, cutting down too many forests for construction and agriculture, leading to soil erosion and ecological collapse that made their cities unsustainable. Political factors may also have contributed to the collapse. Maya inscriptions from the late Classic period record increasingly frequent warfare between city-states, which could have disrupted trade networks, consumed resources needed for other activities, and created instability that made recovery from environmental challenges more difficult. Some researchers suggest that the rigid social hierarchy of Maya civilization may have prevented effective responses to crisis, as rulers focused on maintaining their power rather than adapting to changing conditions. Disease may have played a role as well. While devastating epidemics brought by European contact occurred much later, there's evidence that the Maya may have experienced disease outbreaks during the Classic period that could have reduced populations and weakened social institutions. The concentration of populations in large cities would have made disease transmission more likely and more devastating when it occurred. Recent archaeological discoveries using advanced technology like LiDAR, light detection and ranging, have revealed that Maya civilization was even more extensive and sophisticated than previously believed. LiDAR surveys conducted over Maya territories have identified thousands of previously unknown structures, including entire cities hidden beneath jungle canopy. These discoveries suggest that Maya population levels may have been much higher than previous estimates, making the scale of the collapse even more dramatic and mysterious. The new LiDAR data has also revealed extensive networks of roads, canals, agricultural terraces, and defensive fortifications that suggest Maya civilization was highly organized and technologically sophisticated. Some of the agricultural systems identified appear to have been capable of supporting very large populations through intensive farming techniques that maximized crop yields while maintaining soil fertility. This evidence makes the abandonment of these productive systems all the more puzzling. Our journey through ancient mysteries now takes us to the Eastern Mediterranean, where one of history's most influential civilizations vanished so completely that until the late 19th century, many scholars believed it had never existed at all. The Minoan civilization of ancient Crete, which flourished from approximately 2700 to 1100 BCE, created Europe's first advanced urban culture, complete with elaborate palaces, sophisticated art, and far-reaching trade networks that connected the Aegean world with Egypt, the Near East, and beyond. The Minoans, named after the legendary King Minos of later Greek mythology, built their civilization around magnificent palace complexes that served as centers of political, economic, and religious life. The most famous of these is the Palace of Knossos, a sprawling complex covering over 150,000 square feet and containing hundreds of rooms connected by a maze-like network of corridors, stairs, and courtyards. The palace's complex layout may have inspired the later Greek legend of the labyrinth that housed the monstrous Minotaur. What makes Minoan civilization particularly intriguing is its apparent difference from other Bronze Age cultures. Minoan art depicts a society that seems remarkably peaceful and egalitarian, with women apparently holding positions of high status and religious authority. The famous snake goddess figurines, elaborate frescoes showing women in positions of prominence, and the apparent absence of defensive fortifications around major Minoan cities suggest a culture that may have been less militaristic than its contemporaries. Minoan religious practices appear to have centered around goddess worship and the veneration of natural forces. Their art depicts elaborate ceremonies involving bull leaping, a dangerous ritual in which young people would grab the horns of charging bulls and vault over their backs. These ceremonies may have been connected to fertility rituals or coming-of-age practices, and they demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of animal behavior and remarkable athletic skill. The mystery of Minoan civilization deepens when we consider how it ended. Around 1450 BCE, most of the major Minoan palaces were destroyed by fire, and the civilization rapidly declined. Various theories have been proposed for this catastrophic collapse, including invasion by Mycenaean Greeks, internal civil war, or natural disasters such as earthquakes or volcanic eruptions. One of the most dramatic theories connects the end of Minoan civilization to one of the largest volcanic eruptions in human history, the island of Thera, modern Santorini, located about 70 miles north of Crete, experienced a massive volcanic eruption sometime in the 2nd millennium BCE. This eruption, which may have been 4 times more powerful than the famous Krakatoa eruption of 1883, would have sent enormous amounts of ash into the atmosphere and generated massive tsunamis that could have devastated coastal areas throughout the Eastern Mediterranean. The Thera eruption theory suggests that the volcanic ashfall and tsunami damage could have crippled Minoan agriculture, destroyed their fleet, and made their cities vulnerable to invasion or internal collapse. However, dating the eruption precisely has proved difficult, and there's ongoing debate about whether it occurred before, during, or after the destruction of the Minoan palaces. Some evidence suggests the eruption may have occurred a century or more before the final collapse of Minoan civilization, making direct causation less likely. The connection between the Minoan collapse and the volcanic eruption at Thera has also been linked to one of history's most enduring mysteries, the lost city of Atlantis. Plato's account of Atlantis, written in the 4th century BCE, describes an advanced island civilization that was destroyed in a single day and night of catastrophic earthquakes and floods. Some researchers have suggested that Plato's story might have been based on folk memories of the actual destruction of Minoan civilization, possibly combined with accounts of the Thera eruption and its aftermath. While the Atlantis connection remains speculative, the parallels are intriguing. Both Atlantis and Minoan Crete were advanced maritime civilizations with sophisticated technology and far-reaching influence. Both were destroyed relatively suddenly by natural catastrophes involving earthquakes and flooding. Both left behind mysterious ruins and legends that influenced later cultures. Whether or not Plato had any actual knowledge of Minoan civilization, the story of Atlantis may preserve some memory of a real Bronze Age catastrophe that destroyed one of the world's first advanced European civilizations. From the mysteries of the Mediterranean, our exploration takes us to the vast Pacific Ocean, where scattered across thousands of miles of open water, ancient Polynesian navigators achieved one of humanity's greatest feats of exploration and settlement. The colonization of the Pacific Islands, which began around 3,500 years ago and continued until European contact, represents an extraordinary achievement in navigation, seamanship, and cultural adaptation that continues to amaze researchers today. The mystery of Polynesian navigation centers on how ancient islanders, using only traditional sailing craft and indigenous knowledge, were able to locate and settle tiny islands scattered across an ocean covering over 64 million square miles. These voyages required not only exceptional seamanship, but also the ability to navigate across thousands of miles of open ocean without instruments, returning to previously discovered islands and maintaining contact between far-flung communities. Traditional Polynesian navigation relied on an intimate knowledge of natural phenomena that most modern people would find impossible to master. Expert navigators, called palu in some island cultures, spent years learning to read the subtle signs that could guide them across vast oceanic distances. They studied the positions and movements of stars, using specific star patterns to maintain direction during night sailing. Different stars served as guides at different times of year and for different destinations, requiring navigators to memorize complex astronomical information. Wave patterns provided another crucial source of navigational information. Experienced navigators could detect the subtle swells created by distant islands, even when the islands themselves were far beyond the horizon. These swells, created by ocean waves reflecting off island shores, created distinctive patterns that skilled navigators could read like a map. They could determine not only the direction to an island, but also estimate its distance based on the strength and characteristics of these wave patterns. Cloud formations, wind patterns, the behavior of seabirds, and even the color and temperature of ocean water all provided additional clues for navigation. Certain types of clouds form over islands due to updrafts created by land masses, making them visible from great distances. Seabirds have different flying patterns depending on their distance from land, and some species can be seen much farther from shore than others. Phosphorescence in the water, floating debris, and subtle changes in wave color could all indicate the presence of land beyond the horizon. The vessels used for these incredible voyages were highly sophisticated sailing craft perfectly adapted to Pacific conditions. Traditional Polynesian sailing canoes, ranging from single-hulled craft with outriggers to large double-hulled voyaging canoes, were designed for stability, speed, and the ability to carry supplies for long ocean crossings. The largest voyaging canoes could carry 20 or more people, along with food, water, plants, animals, and tools needed to establish new settlements. What makes Polynesian navigation even more remarkable is that it was accomplished not by individual explorers, but by entire communities. The settlement of new islands required not just the ability to find them, but also the transportation of everything needed to establish sustainable settlements: people, domestic animals, food crops, tools, and cultural knowledge. This meant that successful voyages often involved fleets of canoes carrying dozens of settlers, along with all the materials needed to recreate Polynesian society in a new environment. The accuracy of Polynesian navigation has been demonstrated by modern reconstruction projects that have successfully replicated ancient voyages using traditional techniques and craft. The most famous of these was the Hokulea project, which began in the 1970s with the construction of a traditional Polynesian voyaging canoe that successfully sailed from Hawaii to Tahiti using only traditional navigation methods. This and subsequent voyages have proven that ancient Polynesian navigational techniques were not only possible, but remarkably reliable. The mystery extends to how Polynesian navigators developed such sophisticated techniques in the first place. The skills required for successful long-distance ocean navigation would have taken generations to develop and refine, suggesting that the expansion into the Pacific was not a random process of accidental discovery, but a systematic program of exploration and settlement. This implies a level of cultural organization and knowledge transmission that allowed complex navigational information to be preserved and passed down through generations without written records. Archaeological evidence suggests that the Pacific was settled in distinct phases, with each wave of expansion representing increasingly sophisticated navigational capabilities. The initial settlement of islands relatively close to the Asian mainland, including New Guinea and the Solomon Islands, occurred around 40,000 years ago, during periods when sea levels were lower and distances between islands were shorter. However, the settlement of more distant island groups like Fiji, Samoa, and Tonga around 3,000 years ago required true blue water navigation across hundreds of miles of open ocean. The final phase of Pacific settlement, which included the colonization of Hawaii, Easter Island, and New Zealand, represents some of the most remarkable voyages in human history. The settlement of Easter Island, located over 2,000 miles from the nearest populated land, required navigators to locate a target measuring only 14 miles across in an ocean covering millions of square miles. The colonization of Hawaii involved voyages of over 2,000 miles from the nearest Polynesian islands, while the settlement of New Zealand required navigation across over 1,000 miles of ocean to reach islands that were significantly different in climate and ecology from tropical Polynesia. Our exploration of ancient mysteries now takes us to one of the most debated and controversial archaeological sites in the world.
Located in present-day Turkey, Göbekli Tepe has revolutionized our understanding of prehistoric human capabilities and challenged fundamental assumptions about the development of civilization.
This massive complex of stone circles and carved pillars, built approximately 11,500 years ago, predates Stonehenge by about 6,000 years and was constructed before the development of agriculture, pottery, or metallurgy. Göbekli Tepe consists of at least 20 circular structures, each containing massive T-shaped limestone pillars arranged in concentric circles. The largest pillars stand over 18 feet tall and weigh up to 16 tons, making them among the largest architectural elements created by prehistoric peoples. The pillars are elaborately decorated with carved reliefs depicting a variety of animals, including lions, bulls, boars, foxes, snakes, vultures, and scorpions, along with abstract symbols whose meaning remains unknown. What makes Göbekli Tepe so revolutionary is its age and the implications it has for our understanding of prehistoric social organization. The site was built by hunter-gatherer societies at a time when conventional archaeology suggests that humans lived in small, mobile bands without the social complexity necessary for large-scale construction projects. The creation of Göbekli Tepe would have required the coordinated efforts of hundreds of people over many years, along with sophisticated planning, specialized skills, and the ability to support large groups of workers who were not directly involved in food production. The construction of Göbekli Tepe also demonstrates remarkable technical sophistication. The massive pillars were quarried from limestone bedrock using only stone tools, then transported and erected with precision that rivals much later architectural achievements. The carved reliefs show detailed knowledge of animal anatomy and behavior, along with artistic skills that suggest specialized craftsmen working within established traditions. The overall design of the complex, with its circular structures and carefully planned layouts, indicates sophisticated architectural planning and symbolic thinking. The purpose of Göbekli Tepe remains largely mysterious, but its elaborate decoration and monumental scale suggest it served important ritual or ceremonial functions. The abundance of animal imagery, particularly predatory species, may indicate connections to hunting magic or shamanic practices. Some researchers believe the site might have served as a pilgrimage destination, drawing people from across the region for ceremonies or gatherings that helped maintain cultural connections between dispersed hunter-gatherer groups. One of the most intriguing aspects of Göbekli Tepe is what happened to it. Around 8,000 years ago, the site was deliberately buried under tons of earth and stone, effectively sealing it away for millennia. This deliberate burial was not the result of natural processes or abandonment, but appears to have been a conscious decision to hide or preserve the site. The reasons for this dramatic action remain completely unknown, but it suggests that Göbekli Tepe held such significance for its builders that they were willing to invest enormous effort in its preservation. The discovery and excavation of Göbekli Tepe has forced archaeologists to reconsider fundamental assumptions about the relationship between social complexity and technological development. The site demonstrates that hunter-gatherer societies were capable of much greater organizational and technical achievements than previously believed. It also suggests that monumental architecture and complex ritual practices may have preceded rather than followed the development of agriculture, challenging the traditional narrative that sees farming as the foundation of civilization. Recent discoveries at other sites in the region have revealed that Göbekli Tepe was not unique, but part of a broader cultural phenomenon. Similar circular structures with carved stone pillars have been found at several other locations in southeastern Turkey and northern Syria, suggesting that the sophisticated culture that built Göbekli Tepe was widespread and long-lasting. These discoveries indicate that the region was home to complex societies with advanced architectural and artistic capabilities thousands of years before the development of the world's first cities. From the hills of Turkey, our journey takes us to the high Andes of South America, where another mystery has puzzled researchers for over a century. The Inca road system, known as the Kapak Nyan, was one of the most extensive and sophisticated transportation networks ever built, stretching over 25,000 miles across some of the world's most challenging terrain. This remarkable engineering achievement connected an empire that extended over 2,500 miles from north to south, linking coastal deserts, high mountain passes, and dense tropical forests. The mystery of the Inca road system lies not just in its impressive scale, but in the engineering solutions it employed to traverse seemingly impossible terrain. Inca engineers built roads that climbed nearly vertical mountainsides, crossed raging rivers on suspension bridges made from woven grass, and tunneled through solid rock to maintain direct routes across the landscape. The roads were built to accommodate not wheeled vehicles, which the Inca did not possess, but foot traffic and llama caravans that carried goods and messages throughout the empire. One of the most remarkable features of the Inca road system was its use of suspension bridges to cross deep mountain gorges. These bridges, woven from grass fibers, using techniques that produced cables stronger than steel, could span distances of over 150 feet and support the weight of loaded llama trains. The bridges required constant maintenance, with local communities taking responsibility for gathering materials and rebuilding the structures annually. Some of these bridges remained in use until the 20th century, testament to the effectiveness of Inca engineering. The roads themselves were built to different specifications, depending on their importance and the terrain they traversed. Major highways were paved with fitted stone blocks and included drainage systems, retaining walls, and rest stations located at regular intervals. Lesser roads might be simple dirt paths marked with stone cairns, but even these followed carefully planned routes that minimized elevation changes and avoided dangerous or impassable areas. The entire system was designed to allow rapid communication across the empire, with relay runners called chasqui capable of carrying messages from Cusco to the far reaches of the empire in a matter of days. What makes the Inca road system particularly mysterious is how it was planned and coordinated across such vast distances and diverse environments. The roads follow routes that demonstrate intimate knowledge of local geography and climate conditions, avoiding areas prone to landslides, floods, or extreme weather, while taking advantage of natural features like mountain passes and river valleys. This level of planning would have required detailed surveying and mapping capabilities that seem remarkable for a civilization without written language or wheeled transportation. The construction of the road system also required unprecedented organizational capabilities. Building roads across the Andes involved moving enormous quantities of stone, coordinating the labor of thousands of workers, and maintaining supply lines across difficult terrain. The Inca accomplished this through their mita system, a form of labor tribute that required communities throughout the empire to contribute workers for public projects. This system allowed the Inca to mobilize massive amounts of labor for road construction while maintaining agricultural production and other essential activities. Archaeological study of the Inca road system has revealed sophisticated engineering techniques that were perfectly adapted to Andean conditions. In areas prone to earthquakes, roads were built with flexible joints that allowed them to move without breaking. In regions with heavy rainfall, elaborate drainage systems prevented erosion and maintained road surfaces. In desert areas, roads were marked with posts and cairns to prevent travelers from losing their way in shifting sands or during sandstorms. The mystery deepens when we consider how much of the road system's engineering knowledge was lost after the Spanish conquest. While some Inca roads continued to be used during the colonial period, the specialized knowledge needed to maintain features like suspension bridges and high-altitude routes was gradually forgotten as indigenous communities were forced to abandon traditional practices. Many sections of the road system fell into disrepair or were deliberately destroyed to prevent their use by indigenous resistance movements. Our exploration of ancient mysteries now takes us beneath the Egyptian desert, where one of archaeology's most spectacular discoveries continues to reveal new secrets about ancient beliefs and practices. The tomb of Tutankhamun, discovered by Howard Carter in 1922, remains the most intact royal burial ever found in Egypt, providing unprecedented insights into Egyptian mortuary practices and the incredible wealth of the pharaohs. Yet, despite nearly a century of study, the tomb continues to yield new mysteries and surprises. The discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb was itself almost miraculous. Located in the Valley of the Kings, where Egyptian pharaohs were buried for over 500 years, the tomb had somehow escaped the attention of ancient grave robbers who had plundered virtually every other royal burial in the valley. When Carter first peered into the tomb by candlelight, he saw what he famously described as wonderful things. Rooms packed with golden furniture, jeweled objects, weapons, clothing, food, and thousands of other artifacts intended to accompany the young pharaoh into the afterlife. What makes Tutankhamun's tomb particularly mysterious is how much it reveals about Egyptian beliefs regarding death and the afterlife. The tomb contained over 5,000 individual objects, ranging from practical items like clothing and furniture to highly symbolic ritual objects whose purpose remains unclear. Many of these artifacts show evidence of having been used during the king's lifetime, while others appear to have been created specifically for burial. The careful arrangement of objects throughout the tomb's 4 chambers suggests that their placement followed complex ritual requirements that we only partially understand. The mummy of Tutankhamun itself has provided valuable information about ancient Egyptian mummification practices, but it has also raised new questions. Modern CT scans and DNA analysis have revealed that the young king suffered from several genetic disorders, possibly the result of inbreeding within the royal family.
He also appears to have died from a combination of injuries and illness at approximately 19 years of age, but the exact cause of his death remains debated. Some evidence suggests he may have died in a chariot accident, while other indicators point to possible assassination or death from malaria. Recent discoveries within the tomb have added new layers to the mystery. High-resolution radar scans conducted in 2015 and 2016 suggested the presence of hidden chambers behind the tomb's walls, possibly containing additional burial goods or even the tomb of Queen Nefertiti, Tutankhamun's possible stepmother. While subsequent analysis has been inconclusive, the possibility of hidden chambers adds another dimension to the tomb's mysteries and suggests that even this most famous of archaeological discoveries may still have secrets to reveal. The curse of Tutankhamun, while not taken seriously by archaeologists, reflects the genuine mystery and awe that the tomb continues to inspire. Several members of Carter's excavation team did die under unusual circumstances in the years following the discovery, leading to widespread belief in a supernatural curse protecting the tomb. While these deaths can be explained by natural causes, the legend of the curse reflects the profound impact that the tomb's discovery had on popular imagination and the sense that some aspects of ancient Egypt remain beyond our complete understanding. From the sands of Egypt, our journey takes us to the jungles of Cambodia, where one of the world's largest religious complexes lies hidden among massive tree roots and crumbling stones. Angkor Wat, built in the early 12th century by the Khmer Empire, represents one of humanity's most ambitious architectural achievements. But the broader Angkor complex contains mysteries that continue to challenge our understanding of medieval urban planning and hydraulic engineering. Angkor Wat itself is remarkable enough, covering over 400 acres, and originally surrounded by a moat spanning 3 miles. 6 miles in perimeter, it was the largest pre-industrial settlement in the world. The temple complex was built as a representation of Mount Meru, the sacred mountain at the center of the universe in Hindu cosmology, with its 5 central towers representing the peaks of the mountain, and its walls and moats representing the surrounding mountain ranges and oceans. However, Angkor Wat was just one element in a much larger urban complex that may have housed over 1 million people at its peak, making it one of the world's largest cities during the medieval period. The broader Angkor complex covers over 400 square miles and includes hundreds of temples, palaces, residential areas, and an incredibly sophisticated water management system that controlled flooding, provided irrigation, and supplied fresh water to the massive population. The water management system at Angkor represents one of the most complex hydraulic engineering projects in human history. The Khmer engineers created an extensive network of reservoirs, canals, dikes, and channels that captured rainwater during the monsoon season and distributed it throughout the dry season. The largest reservoir, the West Baray, covers over 40 square miles and can hold over 50 million cubic meters of water. This system allowed the Khmer to support intensive rice agriculture in an area that would otherwise have been subject to severe seasonal flooding and drought. Recent archaeological research using LiDAR technology has revealed that the Angkor complex was even more extensive than previously imagined.
The LiDAR surveys have identified vast areas of previously unknown temples, roads, canals, and residential areas hidden beneath the forest canopy. These discoveries suggest that Angkor was not just a single city, but a vast urban landscape that extended over hundreds of square miles, connected by roads and waterways that allowed for efficient transportation and communication. The mystery of Angkor centers on why this enormous complex was gradually abandoned beginning in the 15th century. Various theories have been proposed, including invasion by Thai armies, environmental degradation, climate change, and the failure of the complex water management system. Recent research suggests that the answer may involve a combination of these factors, with climate change playing a particularly important role. Paleoclimatic data indicates that the Angkor region experienced significant changes in rainfall patterns during the 14th and 15th centuries, with more frequent droughts alternating with destructive floods. These changes may have overwhelmed the water management system, leading to agricultural failures and making it difficult to support the large urban population. Political instability, warfare with neighboring kingdoms, and the gradual shift of trade routes may have contributed to the decision to abandon the complex in favor of locations closer to the sea. The abandonment of Angkor was not sudden, but appears to have occurred gradually over several centuries, with different areas of the complex being abandoned at different times. Some temples continued to be maintained and used by small communities long after the main urban areas were deserted. The jungle gradually reclaimed much of the complex, with massive trees growing through temple walls and roots slowly pulling apart carefully fitted stone blocks. Our final major mystery takes us to one of the most remote and inhospitable places on Earth, where ancient peoples created art galleries in caves that have preserved the earliest known examples of human artistic expression. The cave paintings found in locations like Lascaux in France, Altamira in Spain, and Chauvet Cave in southern France represent the oldest known works of art created by our species, dating back as much as 40,000 years and providing remarkable insights into the minds and capabilities of our prehistoric ancestors. What makes these cave paintings so mysterious is not just their age, but their remarkable sophistication and the questions they raise about the development of human consciousness and symbolic thinking. The paintings in Chauvet Cave, discovered in 1994, include over 400 individual animal figures rendered with extraordinary skill and artistic sensitivity. The artists who created these works demonstrated detailed knowledge of animal anatomy and behavior, sophisticated understanding of artistic techniques like perspective and shading, and the ability to work in the challenging environment of deep cave chambers lit only by flickering torches. The animals depicted in these caves represent a fascinating window into the prehistoric world and the relationship between humans and their environment. Many of the species shown, including cave lions, woolly rhinoceroses, and cave bears, have been extinct for thousands of years. The artists showed these animals in various poses and activities, suggesting careful observation of their behavior. Some paintings appear to show animals in motion, using techniques that wouldn't be rediscovered until the development of cinema thousands of years later. The mystery deepens when we consider the locations where these paintings were created. Many of the most spectacular cave art sites are located in deep underground chambers that would have been extremely difficult and dangerous to reach with prehistoric technology. Creating art in these locations would have required carrying materials, lighting, and artistic supplies through narrow passages and unstable cave systems. The effort involved suggests that these locations held special significance that justified the considerable risks and challenges in reaching them. The purpose and meaning of cave art remain subjects of intense debate among archaeologists and anthropologists. Some researchers believe the paintings served shamanic or religious purposes, possibly representing visions experienced during altered states of consciousness, or serving as focal points for spiritual practices. The deep cave locations might have been chosen specifically for their otherworldly atmosphere and acoustic properties, which could enhance the psychological impact of ceremonies conducted there. Other theories suggest that cave art served educational or social functions, perhaps helping to transmit knowledge about animal behavior and hunting techniques from one generation to the next. The detailed and accurate representation of animals could have served as a form of prehistoric encyclopedia, preserving important survival information in a permanent and accessible form. The creation of art might also have served social bonding functions, bringing groups together for collaborative, creative projects that reinforced community relationships. Recent discoveries have continued to push back the dates of the earliest known cave art, with some sites in Spain showing evidence of symbolic expression dating back over 65,000 years. If these dates are confirmed, they would suggest that artistic expression was practiced by Neanderthals as well as modern humans, fundamentally changing our understanding of the cognitive capabilities of our extinct relatives and the development of human consciousness. The preservation of cave art represents another mystery in itself. The specific environmental conditions found in certain caves, including stable temperatures, low humidity, and minimal air circulation, have allowed these ancient works to survive for tens of thousands of years with remarkable clarity. However, many cave art sites are now threatened by climate change, tourism, and other modern impacts that could destroy these irreplaceable windows into our prehistoric past. The techniques used to create these ancient masterpieces reveal sophisticated understanding of artistic principles that we might not expect from prehistoric peoples. At Lascaux, artists used the natural contours of cave walls to give their animal figures three-dimensional depth, making horses and bulls appear to leap from the stone surfaces. They mixed pigments from minerals like ochre, manganese, and charcoal, creating colors that have retained their vibrancy for over 17,000 years. Some paintings show evidence of scaffolding or platforms that would have been necessary to reach high cave ceilings, indicating planned artistic projects rather than spontaneous creation. The discovery of handprints in many cave art sites adds another dimension to these prehistoric galleries. These stenciled hands, created by blowing pigment around hands pressed against cave walls, appear in caves across Europe, Australia, and South America. The handprints range in size from adult hands to those of children as young as 2 years old, suggesting that art creation was a community activity that included entire families. Some handprints show missing fingers, which might indicate ritual mutilation, frostbite from harsh Ice Age conditions, or symbolic gestures whose meaning has been lost to time. Our exploration of ancient mysteries would be incomplete without examining one of the most perplexing artifacts ever discovered, the Antikythera mechanism. Found in a shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera in 1901, this corroded bronze device lay in museum storage for decades before researchers realized they were looking at what has been called the world's first analog computer. Dating to approximately 100 to 50 BCE, the mechanism consists of at least 37 meshing bronze gears housed in a wooden case about the size of a shoebox. The complexity of the Antikythera mechanism is staggering. When intact, it would have been operated by turning a hand crank that moved the gears to calculate and display the positions of the sun, moon, and known planets for any given date. The device could predict solar and lunar eclipses decades in advance, and tracked the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. The precision of its gear ratios and the sophistication of its mechanical design represent a level of technological achievement that wasn't seen again in Europe until the development of mechanical clocks in the 14th century. Recent analysis using advanced imaging techniques has revealed inscriptions on the mechanism that appear to be an instruction manual describing how to operate the device and interpret its displays. The text mentions the colors of eclipses and describes the device's ability to model the irregular motion of the moon, which requires sophisticated understanding of lunar orbital mechanics. This suggests that ancient Greek astronomers and craftsmen possessed far more advanced mathematical and mechanical knowledge than previously believed. The existence of the Antikythera mechanism raises profound questions about the technological capabilities of the ancient world. If Greek craftsmen could build such sophisticated computing devices in the 1st century BCE, what other advanced technologies might have existed but been lost to time? The mechanism's construction required precision metalworking, advanced gear-cutting techniques, and mathematical knowledge that we associate with much later periods of history. Its discovery suggests that the technological Dark Age following the fall of Rome might have represented not just political collapse, but the loss of sophisticated technical knowledge that took centuries to redevelop. Moving from ancient technology to mysterious structures, we encounter another puzzle in the highlands of Peru, the ancient site of Pumapunku. Located near Lake Titicaca at an altitude of over 12,000 feet, Pumapunku contains some of the most precisely cut and fitted stone blocks in the world. These massive and andesite and sandstone blocks, some weighing over 130 tons, are cut with such precision that they fit together like three-dimensional puzzles with tolerances measured in millimeters. What makes Pumapunku particularly mysterious is the variety of complex angles and surfaces found on individual blocks. Unlike the relatively simple rectangular stones found at many ancient sites, Pumapunku contains blocks with dozens of precisely cut surfaces meeting at various angles. Some blocks have perfectly straight channels cut into them, while others contain complex interlocking elements that suggest they were part of a sophisticated architectural system. The precision of this stonework exceeds what would be expected from the tools and techniques supposedly available to pre-Columbian civilizations. The blocks at Pumapunku also show evidence of advanced planning and standardization. Many of the stone elements appear to have been mass-produced using standardized measurements and templates, suggesting an organized construction project with sophisticated quality control. Some blocks contain precisely drilled holes that appear to have been made by tools capable of maintaining perfect perpendicularity through several feet of solid stone. The surfaces of many blocks are so smooth and flat that they meet modern architectural standards for precision. The mystery of Pumapunku is compounded by questions about how the massive stones were transported to the site. The nearest quarries for the andesite blocks are located over 60 miles away across difficult mountain terrain, while the sandstone came from quarries over 10 miles distant. Moving blocks weighing over 100 tons across such terrain would challenge modern equipment, making the achievement all the more remarkable for people supposedly working with Bronze Age technology. Archaeological dating of Pumapunku has proved controversial, with different studies producing dates ranging from 536 CE to 1500 CE. The wide variation in dates reflects the difficulty of precisely dating stone construction and the complex history of use and modification at the site. Some researchers believe that the most sophisticated stonework represents the earliest phase of construction, while later additions used cruder techniques, suggesting that the advanced building methods were lost over time rather than developed gradually. Our journey through ancient mysteries now takes us to the other side of the world, where the ancient city of Baalbek in Lebanon contains some of the largest stone blocks ever used in construction. The Temple of Jupiter at Baalbek was built during the Roman period, but it incorporates massive foundation stones that may represent much earlier construction. 3 of these stones, known as the trilithon, weigh approximately 750 tons each and are positioned about 20 feet above ground level in the temple's foundation wall. The size and placement of the trilithon stones present engineering challenges that would be difficult to solve even with modern equipment. Each stone measures approximately 64 feet long, 14 feet high, and 12 feet deep, making them among the largest worked stone blocks in the world. The precision with which they are fitted together, with joints so tight that a knife blade cannot be inserted between them, demonstrates remarkable engineering skill and planning. Even more mysterious is a 4th stone, known as the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, which remains in the quarry about half a mile from the temple complex. This massive block weighs an estimated 1,000 tons and appears to have been prepared for transport but never moved. Recent discoveries in the same quarry have revealed even larger stones, including one that may weigh over 1,200 tons, suggesting that the ancient builders were planning constructions of truly staggering scale. The methods used to move and position the trilithon stones remain completely unknown. Roman engineering capabilities, while impressive, are not generally thought to have included the ability to lift and precisely position stones of such enormous weight. The logistics of moving 750-ton stones half a mile from quarry to construction site, then lifting them 20 feet into the air and fitting them precisely into position would challenge modern crane technology and require careful planning of routes, equipment, and techniques. Some researchers have suggested that the trilithon represents pre-Roman construction that was later incorporated into the Roman temple complex. This theory is based partly on the different construction techniques used for the massive foundation stones compared to the smaller blocks in the upper portions of the temple walls. If this interpretation is correct, it would mean that the largest stones at Baalbek were moved and positioned by people with even more limited technological resources than the Romans, making the achievement even more mysterious. The purpose of using such enormous stones also remains unclear.
While massive constructions certainly demonstrated power and permanence, the engineering challenges and resource requirements involved in moving 750-ton blocks far exceeded what would have been necessary for structural purposes.
Smaller stones could have provided equivalent structural strength with far less effort and risk. This suggests that the choice to use such massive blocks was driven by symbolic or religious considerations rather than purely practical engineering requirements.
Another fascinating mystery that continues to puzzle researchers is the phenomenon of perfectly spherical stone balls found in various locations around the world.
The most famous of these are the stone spheres of Costa Rica, where over 300 granite balls ranging from a few inches to over 8 feet in diameter have been discovered in the Dikis Delta region.
These spheres, created by the Dikis culture between 600 and 1000 CE, are carved with such precision that they deviate from perfect spherical shape by only a few millimeters.
The creation of perfectly spherical stone objects would have required sophisticated understanding of geometry and extremely advanced stoneworking techniques. Creating a perfect sphere from granite requires removing stone material uniformly from all directions while constantly checking and adjusting the shape to maintain spherical geometry.
This would have been an extraordinarily difficult and time-consuming process, using only the stone and bronze tools available to pre-Columbian Costa Rican cultures. The purpose of the Costa Rican stone spheres remains completely unknown.
They have been found in various contexts, including aligned in rows, grouped in patterns, and positioned near important buildings or ceremonial areas. Some researchers have suggested they might have served astronomical purposes, marking celestial alignments or serving as three-dimensional calendars. Others believe they might have had religious or ceremonial significance, perhaps representing celestial bodies or cosmic forces in indigenous cosmology. Similar stone spheres have been found in other parts of the world, including Bosnia, Scotland, and Easter Island, suggesting that the creation of perfectly spherical stone objects was a practice that developed independently in multiple cultures. The worldwide distribution of these artifacts raises questions about whether they represent parallel cultural development or some form of ancient knowledge transmission that we don't yet understand. The mystery deepens when we consider the incredible precision achieved in creating these spheres. Modern analysis of the Costa Rican examples has shown that many are accurate to within 2 millimeters of perfect spherical shape, a level of precision that would be challenging to achieve even with modern tools and measurement devices. This accuracy suggests not only advanced technical skills, but also sophisticated mathematical understanding of spherical geometry and measurement techniques. Our exploration of ancient mysteries now takes us to the remote Sahara Desert, where one of the world's most extensive collections of rock art provides insights into a time when the now barren desert was a lush, inhabited landscape.
The Tassili Najer Plateau in Algeria contains over 15,000 rock paintings and engravings dating from approximately 12,000 years ago to the present, documenting the dramatic environmental and cultural changes that transformed the Sahara from fertile savanna to arid desert.
The earliest rock art from Tassili Najer depicts a landscape completely different from today's desert environment. Ancient artists painted scenes of abundant wildlife, including elephants, giraffes, hippos, crocodiles, and various antelope species, along with human figures engaged in hunting, herding, and ceremonial activities.
These paintings provide evidence that the Sahara experienced periods of much higher rainfall and supported large populations of both people and animals.
What makes the Tassili rock art particularly mysterious is its apparent documentation of technological and cultural changes over thousands of years. The paintings show a progression from hunting scenes featuring wild animals to pastoral scenes with domestic cattle, and finally to images of horses and eventually camels as the climate became increasingly arid. This artistic record suggests that the people of the region adapted their lifestyle and technology in response to gradual environmental change, providing a unique window into prehistoric cultural adaptation. Some of the most enigmatic images from Tassili Najer have been interpreted as depicting supernatural beings or encounters with unknown entities. These include figures with oversized heads, unusual proportions, or attributes that don't match known human or animal forms. While such images might simply represent mythological beings, shamanic visions, or artistic stylization, they have attracted attention from researchers interested in the role of altered consciousness and spiritual experiences in prehistoric art.
The preservation of rock art in the Sahara presents its own mystery. Despite thousands of years of exposure to wind, sand, and occasional rain, many of the paintings retain vivid colors and clear details. The dry climate and stable rock surfaces of the plateau have created ideal conditions for preservation, but the survival of such ancient art in an outdoor environment is still remarkable. Some paintings appear to have been deliberately maintained or retouched over centuries, suggesting that they held ongoing cultural significance for successive generations of people.
The techniques used to create Saharan rock art varied considerably over time and between different cultural groups. Early paintings often used natural pigments made from ochre, charcoal, and other minerals mixed with animal fat or plant juices to create paints that would adhere to rock surfaces. Later artists developed techniques for creating petroglyphs by pecking or grinding images into rock surfaces, creating permanent records that would survive even longer than painted images. Our journey through ancient mysteries takes us next to one of the most controversial archaeological discoveries of recent decades, the Bosnian Pyramid Complex near the town of Visoko in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Since 2005, amateur archaeologist Samir Osmanagic has claimed that several hills in the area are actually ancient pyramids covered by soil and vegetation over thousands of years. While mainstream archaeology has largely rejected these claims, the site continues to attract attention and raise questions about how we identify and interpret ancient structures. The largest of the claimed pyramids, dubbed the Pyramid of the Sun, is a hill that rises about 720 feet above the surrounding landscape and has triangular faces that Osmanagic claims show evidence of artificial construction. Supporters of the pyramid theory point to what they interpret as stone blocks, mortar, and artificial tunnels as evidence of human construction. They also cite the hill's geometric regularity and its alignment with cardinal directions as evidence that it represents an ancient pyramid rather than a natural formation. Mainstream archaeologists have generally dismissed the Bosnian pyramid claims, arguing that the features cited as evidence of artificial construction can be explained by natural geological processes. The stone blocks are interpreted as natural sedimentary rock formations, while the tunnels are seen as natural cave systems or medieval mining works. Critics argue that the geometric appearance of the hills results from natural erosion patterns rather than human construction. However, the controversy surrounding the Bosnian pyramids highlights broader questions about how we recognize and interpret ancient structures. Many acknowledged archaeological sites began as natural hills or mounds that were modified by human activity, making the distinction between natural and artificial features sometimes difficult to determine. The debate over the Bosnian pyramids reflects ongoing challenges in archaeological interpretation and the need for rigorous scientific methods to distinguish between genuine discoveries and misidentified natural features. Regardless of their ultimate interpretation, the claimed Bosnian pyramids have generated extensive excavation and research that has revealed interesting archaeological finds in the area, including medieval settlements and artifacts. The controversy has also highlighted the importance of public engagement with archaeology and the need for clear communication between professional archaeologists and the general public about how archaeological claims are evaluated and verified. From the controversies of modern archaeology, our exploration takes us to one of the most enduring mysteries of ancient construction: the transport and erection of massive stone statues and obelisks by ancient civilizations. Throughout the ancient world, people moved and erected enormous stone monuments that would challenge modern engineering capabilities. Yet we have limited understanding of the techniques they used to accomplish these remarkable feats. Ancient Egypt provides some of the most spectacular examples of monumental stone transport and erection. The obelisks erected by pharaohs like Hatshepsut and Thutmose III were carved from single blocks of granite weighing hundreds of tons and transported hundreds of miles from quarries in Aswan to temples in Thebes and other locations. The largest known ancient obelisk, which remains unfinished in the Aswan quarry, would have weighed over 1,100 tons if completed and stood nearly 140 feet tall. Egyptian reliefs and texts provide some information about obelisks' transport, showing the monuments being moved on barges along the Nile River and depicting hundreds of workers involved in their erection. However, the specific techniques used to load obelisks onto barges, transport them safely across hundreds of miles of river, and then lift them into upright position remain largely mysterious. The precision required to position a 320-ton obelisk upright without modern cranes or other lifting equipment would have required extraordinary engineering skill and careful planning. Similar challenges are presented by the massive statues created by ancient civilizations. The Great Sphinx of Giza was carved from a single limestone outcrop and measures 240 feet long and 66 feet high, making it one of the largest monolithic sculptures ever created. While the Sphinx was carved in place rather than transported, Its creation still required removing enormous quantities of stone and achieving remarkable precision in carving facial features and body proportions on such a massive scale.
The transport of large statues presents even greater mysteries.
The colossal statues of Ramesses II, some weighing over 1,000 tons, were moved from quarries to temple sites across Egypt and beyond.
One statue of Ramesses II was transported over 400 miles to the temple at Abu Simbel, a journey that would have required crossing desert terrain and navigating the cataracts of the Nile. The methods used to accomplish such transport remain completely unknown and would challenge modern heavy lifting equipment.
Our exploration now turns to one of the most mysterious aspects of ancient civilizations, their apparent ability to coordinate massive construction projects across vast distances and extended time periods. The construction of sites like Angkor Wat, the Inca road system, and the Great Wall of China required not only enormous resources and labor, but also sophisticated organizational systems that could maintain consistent standards and objectives across decades or even centuries of construction. The Great Wall of China, built in various phases over more than 2,000 years, represents one of history's most ambitious construction projects. The wall system eventually extended over 13,000 miles across northern China, incorporating natural barriers like mountains and rivers with artificial fortifications built of stone, brick, and earth. The construction required coordinating the labor of millions of workers, managing supply chains across thousands of miles, and maintaining consistent defensive strategies across changing political and military conditions. What makes the Great Wall particularly remarkable is how its builders adapted construction techniques to local conditions while maintaining overall strategic coherence. In mountainous regions, the wall follows ridge lines and incorporates natural rock formations. In desert areas, it was built primarily of compacted earth and gravel. Near major cities, it was constructed of brick and stone with elaborate gates and watchtowers. Despite these variations, the entire system functioned as a coordinated defensive network that could facilitate communication and troop movement across the breadth of northern China. The organizational requirements for such a project were staggering. Construction required not only enormous numbers of workers, but also systems for feeding, housing, and managing them across remote and often hostile terrain. Materials had to be quarried, manufactured, and transported to construction sites that might be hundreds of miles from sources of stone, brick, or metal. The project required coordination between military engineers, local administrators, and countless supervisors and skilled craftsmen working across multiple provinces and dynasties. Similar organizational mysteries surround the construction of Angkor Wat and the broader Angkor complex. The main temple alone required an estimated 300,000 workers and 6,000 elephants working for over 30 years. The broader complex, with its hundreds of temples and sophisticated water management system, represented construction activity spanning several centuries and multiple rulers. Coordinating such extensive construction while maintaining the agricultural production needed to feed large urban populations would have required administrative systems of remarkable sophistication. The Inca achievement in building their road system presents perhaps the most remarkable example of coordinated construction across challenging terrain. The road network connected regions separated by some of the world's most difficult mountain terrain, requiring consistent engineering standards and construction techniques across environments ranging from coastal deserts to high-altitude mountain passes to tropical rainforests.
The system had to be planned as an integrated network that would function effectively for communication, transportation, and military purposes across an empire spanning over 2,500 miles from north to south.
Our exploration of ancient mysteries would be incomplete without examining the phenomenon of megalithic construction that occurred independently in various parts of the world during roughly the same time period. From the stone circles of Britain and Ireland to the dolmens of Korea and the massive platforms of Malta, ancient peoples around the world began constructing monuments from enormous stone blocks during what archaeologists call the Neolithic period, roughly 4,000–2,500 BCE. The megalithic temples of Malta represent some of the oldest freestanding stone structures in the world, predating Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids by several centuries. These temple complexes, including Gigantia, Hajar Kim, and Mnidra, were built using massive limestone blocks, some weighing over 50 tons. The temples feature sophisticated architectural elements, including corbelled roofing, decorative stone carving, and complex layouts that suggest they served important religious or ceremonial functions. What makes the Maltese temples particularly mysterious is their apparent sudden appearance in the archaeological record. The islands show little evidence of sophisticated construction before the temple building period, yet the temples themselves demonstrate advanced engineering knowledge and artistic sophistication. The temples also feature unique architectural elements not found elsewhere in the Mediterranean, suggesting that their builders developed distinctive techniques and design principles independently of other megalithic traditions. The temple builders of Malta also created some of the world's earliest known realistic sculpture, including the famous Venus of Malta figurines that may represent goddesses or priestesses. The temples contain elaborate stone altars, decorative screens carved with spiral motifs, and acoustic features that suggest they were designed for ceremonies involving music or chanting. Some temples are aligned with astronomical events, indicating that their builders possessed sophisticated knowledge of celestial movements. The megalithic tradition in Western Europe produced an enormous variety of stone monuments, from simple standing stones to complex temple complexes like Newgrange in Ireland, which predates Stonehenge by several centuries. Newgrange demonstrates remarkable architectural sophistication, with a passage grave constructed so that sunlight penetrates to the central chamber only during the winter solstice. The monument's construction required moving and positioning enormous stones with precision that allowed the builders to predict and accommodate the exact angle of sunlight on specific days of the year. The widespread appearance of megalithic construction during the Neolithic period raises fascinating questions about cultural transmission and independent development. Did the knowledge and motivation for building stone monuments spread through cultural contact, or did various societies independently develop similar approaches to monumental architecture? The timing and similarities of megalithic traditions across Europe, Asia, and other regions suggest possible connections, but the distinctive characteristics of different regional traditions indicate significant independent development as well.
As we near the end of our exploration through these ancient mysteries, we must consider one of the most profound puzzles they present: the apparent loss of advanced knowledge and techniques over time.
Many of the achievements we've discussed represent capabilities that seem to have declined or disappeared entirely after their initial development, creating a pattern of apparent technological regression that challenges conventional ideas about human progress. The precision stone-cutting techniques used at sites like Pumapunku and Sacsayhuaman appear to have been lost even before the arrival of European colonizers. Later Inca construction, while still impressive, lacks the extraordinary precision of the earliest and most sophisticated stonework. This suggests that the most advanced building techniques were developed early in Inca history and gradually forgotten or abandoned, rather than representing the culmination of centuries of technological development.
Similar patterns appear in other ancient civilizations.
The sophisticated astronomical knowledge encoded in devices like the Antikythera mechanism seems to have been lost during the collapse of classical civilization, not to be rediscovered until the development of mechanical clocks over 1,000 years later. The advanced water management systems at Angkor were abandoned and forgotten, leading to the collapse of one of the world's largest medieval cities. The navigational techniques that allowed Polynesian settlement of the Pacific were maintained in some island cultures, but completely lost in others. These patterns of knowledge loss highlight the fragility of human technological and cultural achievements. Complex technical knowledge often depends on specialized practitioners, institutional support, and cultural continuity that can be disrupted by warfare, environmental change, or social upheaval. When these disruptions occur, sophisticated techniques and knowledge can disappear within a single generation, leaving behind only the physical remains of capabilities that later societies struggle to understand or replicate. The phenomenon of lost knowledge also raises important questions about how we evaluate ancient achievements and capabilities. When we discover evidence of sophisticated ancient techniques that were later forgotten, we must reconsider assumptions about technological progress and the relationship between chronological time and technical advancement. The presence of advanced capabilities in ancient societies suggests that human potential for innovation and achievement has remained relatively constant throughout history, with variations in actual accomplishment depending more on cultural circumstances and knowledge preservation than on fundamental cognitive or technical limitations. Understanding these patterns of knowledge loss also has implications for our own technological civilization. The ancient examples remind us that no human achievement is permanent, and that even the most sophisticated knowledge can be lost if not actively maintained and transmitted. This perspective encourages greater attention to preserving and documenting technical knowledge, cultural practices, and scientific understanding for future generations. The mysteries we've explored tonight also highlight the continuing potential for new discoveries that could revolutionize our understanding of human history and capabilities. Archaeological techniques continue to advance, with technologies like ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, and DNA analysis revealing new information about ancient sites and cultures.
Each new discovery has the potential to answer old questions while raising new ones, ensuring that the exploration of human history remains an ongoing adventure rather than a completed project. Recent discoveries continue to surprise researchers and challenge existing theories. The identification of sophisticated urban planning at sites like Çatalhöyük in Turkey, the discovery of advanced metallurgy at Bronze Age sites, and the recognition of complex trade networks connecting ancient civilizations across vast distances all contribute to a more nuanced and sophisticated understanding of human prehistory and ancient history. As we contemplate these remarkable achievements and enduring mysteries from our ancient past, we're reminded that each represents the culmination of human creativity, persistence, and cooperation working within the constraints and possibilities of their time and place. The builders of Göbekli Tepe, the navigators who settled the Pacific, the engineers who constructed Angkor's water systems, and the artists who decorated cave walls with magnificent paintings all demonstrate the remarkable potential of human beings working together toward ambitious goals. These ancient achievements also remind us that the most important human qualities transcend any particular technological level or historical period. The curiosity that drove ancient astronomers to track celestial movements with extraordinary precision, the artistic vision that created magnificent cave paintings and stone sculptures, the engineering ambition that built roads across impossible terrain and moved massive stones with primitive tools. These represent timeless aspects of human nature that connect us across all the millennia that separate us from our ancient predecessors. In our modern world, where we often take technological capabilities for granted and assume that progress is inevitable, the ancient mysteries we've explored tonight offer both humbling reminders of what can be achieved with limited resources and inspiring examples of human potential. They challenge us to approach our own problems and opportunities with the same creativity, persistence, and collaborative spirit that allowed our ancestors to create works that continue to amaze us thousands of years later. As our journey through these fascinating puzzles of the past comes to an end, we're left not with simple answers, but with a deeper appreciation for the complexity and richness of human history. Each mystery we've explored opens windows into vanished worlds and lost ways of thinking, reminding us that the human story is far more varied and remarkable than any simple narrative of progress from primitive to advanced could capture. These ancient voices, speaking to us through stone and paint, metal and earth, continue to inspire wonder and respect for the incredible species we belong to and the endless possibilities that emerge when human creativity and determination are applied to the challenges and opportunities of any age. Tonight's exploration reminds us that mystery itself is one of humanity's greatest treasures. While we may never fully understand all the secrets of our ancient past, the very existence of these puzzles keeps alive our sense of wonder and our drive to keep learning, exploring, and reaching for achievements that future generations will remember with the same awe and respect that we feel for the remarkable accomplishments of our ancient ancestors. Good night. As our journey through ancient mysteries draws to a close, we find ourselves confronting one of the most profound questions raised by these discoveries. What do these mysteries tell us about human potential and the nature of civilization itself? Each of the enigmas we've explored challenges conventional assumptions about what was possible for ancient peoples and suggests that our ancestors were capable of achievements that we're still struggling to understand and explain.
The precision of Inca stonework, the navigational skills of Polynesian voyagers, the astronomical knowledge encoded in Stonehenge, and the artistic sophistication of cave paintings all point to cognitive and technical capabilities that seem to transcend the limitations we might expect from their historical periods. These achievements suggest that human intelligence and creativity have remained essentially unchanged throughout our species' history, and that the primary differences between ancient and modern civilizations lie not in individual capabilities, but in accumulated knowledge and available technology. Many of these mysteries also highlight the importance of cultural knowledge transmission and social organization in human achievements. The construction of Göbekli Tepe, the navigation of the Pacific, and the creation of Angkor's water management system all required not just individual expertise, but sophisticated systems for organizing labor, preserving knowledge, and coordinating complex projects across time and space. These achievements demonstrate that ancient societies were capable of remarkable levels of cooperation and planning, challenging stereotypes about prehistoric and ancient peoples as simple or primitive. The persistence of these mysteries also reminds us of the fragility of human knowledge and the ease with which sophisticated understanding can be lost. The undeciphered scripts of the Indus Valley and Linear A represent entire bodies of knowledge that have vanished completely, while the engineering techniques used at Sacsayhuaman and the navigational methods of Polynesian voyagers survived only through careful preservation by traditional communities. These losses highlight the importance of protecting and documenting traditional knowledge before it disappears forever. Perhaps most importantly, these ancient mysteries remind us that human history is far richer and more complex than we often imagine. Each new discovery has the potential to overturn established theories and force us to reconsider fundamental assumptions about human development and capability. The ongoing revelations from sites like Göbekli Tepe and the continuous discoveries made possible by new technologies like LiDAR suggest that we have only begun to scratch the surface of what our ancestors achieved and what they can teach us about human potential. As we conclude our exploration of these fascinating puzzles from the past, we're reminded that mystery itself is one of the most valuable gifts that archaeology and history can offer us. While we may never fully solve all the enigmas we've discussed tonight, the process of investigating them expands our understanding of human possibility and keeps alive our sense of wonder about the remarkable species we belong to. These ancient voices, speaking to us across millennia through stone and bone, paint and symbol, continue to inspire us with their achievements and challenge us to reach for our own highest potential. In our modern world of instant communication and global connectivity, it's humbling to realize that some of humanity's greatest achievements were accomplished by people working with stone tools and organic materials, guided only by accumulated wisdom and the power of human cooperation. Their legacy reminds us that the most important human qualities, creativity, persistence, curiosity, and the drive to create something greater than ourselves, are timeless attributes that connect us across all the centuries and cultures that separate us from our ancient predecessors. As we drift off to contemplate these mysteries of the ancient world, let us carry with us the wonder and respect they inspire for human achievement and the endless possibilities that await discovery in our shared past and future. Good night.